Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome to another episode. Today on Oneness Talks, we welcome Aurora Luna Star. Aurora is an interdimensional channel guiding individuals through Starseed Akashic Readings, sound activations, and personal empowerment. Through her channel, she connects with a ninth dimensional intelligence, accessing light codes in the form of sound messages, images, and light language. Her mission is to help you embrace your fullest potential, acting as a catalyst for personal growth, transformation, and self-discovery. She is a sought-out speaker and panel guest, awakening hearts to their full and true potential by living and embodying her most expanded state of beingness. Aurora, thank you for spending time and space with me and our listeners on this channel today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And it's a beautiful soul meeting that I think was a long time in the making, to be honest. I feel like I've had the beautiful privilege of watching you evolve over the years. And to be here with you today, honestly, is really beautiful. And I'm excited to learn a lot about your journey and where it is that you find yourself now, surrendering into the beauty of your own path, helping people along the way to realize their own. Right? It's a powerful thing. So thank you.
Thank you. The funny thing about a spiritual journey is there are fantastical things that unfold, but a lot of what happens is you're understanding, you're remembering, you're coming back to the truth of who you are. And so with 17 years in corporate America, I kept changing jobs because I was bored. And I really didn't understand, aside from making more money every time I shifted jobs, which was literally every 1 to 2 years. So if you can imagine how many different companies I've worked for, and I learned about each company, but I was essentially an executive assistant in each capacity. So I was always kind of doing the same job, just in different industries. And none of it was lighting me up, no matter what I was doing. On an occasion, I would be part of something, or I'd be asked to do a project that was really fulfilling, but it was really few and far between. And it was so clear that life was just passing through me without me understanding what I was meant to be doing. And in so much that I was self-medicating a lot, alcohol, food, marijuana, whatever I could get my hands on, also not understanding that I was taking in a lot of other people's vibrations that weren't in alignment or resonance with my own. And so trying to find my way through all of that and not really knowing what to do. Because society definitely, in that moment, I would say that the higher consciousness and awareness really wasn't available in the way it is now. Right? It's not like I couldn't go to Tibet and study with some monks or, right? I mean, these things were there. Their information was there. Consciousness was there, but it wasn't en masse as much as it is in this moment, where we all have much more availability. I mean, when you look at the way showers that I was looking at the time, that number has easily quadrupled over the past 20 years, if not even more. Exponentially, there are more people sharing their gifts, their hearts, their understanding or awareness of, what we're doing here and why we're doing it. And no matter what people are saying, that's awesome. Even if it doesn't align for you, the fact that there's someone out there that's just saying something that's different than, this matrix that we've been thrown into, where we all were kind of made cogs in a wheel, right? I mean, even as far as I'm taking like music and art out of school systems, there's a reason for that, because it's stripped people of their creativity, right? Yeah, so my journey was really I walked in with 9 near-death experiences by the time I was 5 years old.
Oh,
Yeah. I'd already had contact when I was very young with different kinds of beings. Some of the near-death I remember, some of it I don't, and I'm really okay with that.
yeah.
I know that it was with the purpose of collapsing timelines so that I wouldn't keep dragging the karma with me. This is our lifetime where we're not, for lack of a better way to put it, dying on the cross for our sins or anyone else's sins. We're really carrying all of this energy into the present moment and saying, okay, I get to do this differently than all those who walked before me in my lineage. And then also, time space continuum, different lifetimes, different expressions.
Yes.
I know when I was Atlantis, I was like Darth Vader. I'm not even kidding you. My wife and my 2 children got murdered in experiments in Atlantis. And I went very dark. I went on a killing spree. And I remember the first time I met that fragment of myself, he didn't want to come anywhere near me. It took a better part of a year with intention. And sometimes I didn't have to intend his presence. Sometimes he would just magically kind of show up while I was facilitating or meditating. But it took time to integrate such profound loss of feeling of love.
That is so profound to have that experience. I can't even begin to imagine. Please share a little bit more about that, because that's incredible.
I was living here in Mount Shasta at the time. I was kind of coming to a close to my first time of living here, which was 3 years. 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Wow, time is just like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not real. So it seems like anyway. So about 7 years ago, I lived here for 3 years. I was 2016 to 19. And in that time, I was like in the last maybe 6 or 7 months of living in Mount Shasta, and I had a dream. And in the dream, I was being shown that everyone was asleep. And the only way that you could tell that there was an overlay of consciousness is if you saw their reflection in a mirror. And when I saw certain people in the mirror, I could see this static over their face. And then I saw a flash of light, and I was brought to Atlantis, where it was kind of like they were showing me the tie between the energy at that time to the energy at this time, and how easily manipulated human consciousness can be, and how once a belief is planted and that seed is in there, it really can take root and be very challenging to unroot. And honestly, it's not meant to be unrooted for everyone, because it would cause utter chaos and pain for them. Some people aren't here to be evolutionized. They already did all their soul contracts, so they're just kind of here to live a humdrum kind of life, and there's no judgment or problems or anything wrong with it. This is the life where they came, but they're just kind of completing out the pattern, and that's it. They're done for their purpose of being in human form.
I absolutely love that you said that. That was actually one of my questions that I was going to ask you, but go ahead. Please.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the flash, I was taken to Atlantis, and what I was looking at was like carnage. It was really disturbing. I guess the point of reference are some of the movies I may have seen when I was younger, right? And then I looked in the mirror, and I saw that I was the reason for the carnage. And I was like, whoa. And then I saw a flash again, and then I saw this essence or a version of me in this past life, or whatever we call them, because all time is now, but in this alternate reality of me. And he was I was looking at like a desert, like you'd see in the movies, with like the cracks in the ground. And he was so far away from me, he was barely like a black dot. And when I woke up, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? At this point, I may have been on John Burgos' show for the first time. Like, I may have already started to expand my work a bit. Shasta's always brought up Shasta and Sedona both have brought up a lot of right? They're powerful energy spots. So we start to get these soul memories. And so the question I had was, what do I do with this? And of course, the answer was, well, heal it. Okay. And then I'm like, wow, like, that's nice. Okay. You want me to heal something from thousands and thousands of years ago that I really don't even fully understand. But the understanding or the remembrance was to come into an integration of love, right? I wanted to call him towards my heart. He wasn't quick to come. He just, when you experience savagery as you, and when you experience the excruciating heartache of not understanding what's happening, and I'll leave it like that, because every soul is always choosing what they're experiencing. Even when I think of Iran right now and how many souls are sacrificing their lives so that freedom and sovereignty can come into this space that's been dark for a very long time.
Yeah.
I know that these souls are choosing their bravery and their timeline and their time to shift or transition with great mastery, right? So my question is, where is the mastery and how do I bring him in? And so at first it was conscious, where I was asking him to come closer, and it took a long time, or what feels like a long time. It took the perfect time. And then eventually I would be facilitating sound healings and speaking light language, or calling in the gifts that I learned at that time from Atlantis in this present moment, using those gifts. And that's when I started to see him come of his own volition, or of his own accord, and start to come closer out of almost curiosity. And eventually we merged. We came into integration. And it's just the remembrance always that everything that we do is always each other. Right? So if I curse someone out, I'm cursing myself out.
Right.
If I scream at someone, I'm screaming at myself. If I'm harming someone, and please know that I'm very human and that all those things still happen on occasion, right? I don't mean to be in harm, but sometimes I am that vibration. And I don't hold my heels to the coals as much as I used to. I used to just be so hard on myself. And then I wasn't really healing, right? I was just holding myself hostage, believing and feeling shame.
And judgment, yeah.
Oh, big time judgment. And if you look at the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins, that book gives you the calibration of feelings through energy. And shame is the absolute lowest calibration, because it's a belief that you are so separate from source that you are not deserving of any kind of love. And I was there, right? I feel like all of humanity has experienced a morsel of it, or different, energies around shame. And it's okay that it's there. And, we're here to rise. We're here to rise through that. And so, I am in gratitude for all of my flaws, for lack of a better way to put it, or shadow, right? I'm in gratitude because the shadow is always serving the light. The shadow is always showing me where I'm believing the lie of separation. And so it's, it's 20 years and it won't stop while I'm still in body, or any one of us. It's so cute when I hear my clients say, well, I'm totally past that. I'm like, okay, so you're telling me you never get upset over that stuff anymore? That's very surprising, right? So it is. And then I've got the other clients who say to me, and may everybody be blessed on their journey. This isn't judgment. It's just the awareness that we're healing, right? Myself, all of us, we're healing. And it's not about reaching a destination, right? Being surprised when you think you've cleared something and it comes back up again. I can't believe it came back up again, right? But it comes back in a spiral. It's the next iteration of oh no, I hate when my camera does this, sorry.
No, that's okay. And I love that you said that too, because, sometimes we think we've healed past something and then that charge comes again. Like I like to, I sense it like as this charge, and only you know that you're really feeling that. And that's when you know, like, oh, damn it, there's another freaking piece here. to heal. But you're so right when you say it's like another iteration, and it's not nearly as big as it was. So sometimes you can move through it so quickly, right, that it's almost like a snap, right?
It's a perfect way to put it. I mean, the Dalai Lama wouldn't say that he doesn't have emotions. He would say that he's practiced so much mindfulness and heart-centeredness, even though that's not technically part of their teachings. It's the truth of who he is as a being. People feel it when they're in his presence, right? He transmutes it very quickly because whatever's coming up for him, he understands reality. And that reality is based on a holographic field. I mean, they may describe it differently, right? In different realms of reality in Buddhism and whatnot. But bottom line is we're in a holographic field. Collectively, we've all agreed upon this field, which is why we think everything around us is happening. In a way it is, in a way it's not, right? Based on vibrational frequency. We are vibrational beings. And so we can change what we experience when we get adept at remembering to be responsible for the energy that we have.
I love that. I love that.
That's the journey.
I do need to take you back to a moment, because when you spoke of that time when you were integrating into that Atlantean expression, right, of yourself, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this, but how it's just so interesting. So from your awareness, right, as Aurora in this here and now, and as you were going through that, did you feel like there was an awareness of yourself, right? Of that, like, did your Atlantean self from thousands of years ago recognize that you, in fact, were the aspect of itself?
I knew it. I don't know if he, quote unquote, knew it.
That's incredible.
Because again, when you're so far removed from love, and standing in front of something that wants to love you. I remember being young and receiving love and feeling like love would hurt me. And so not only did I reject it violently because I was because my biological mother, who was in charge of my care, did not take care of me. She hurt me a lot in many different ways and didn't know I never knew what I was going to get when I was in her presence. And so that same energy kind of was the Atlantean energy, right? Can I trust love because I gave all my love to my family and they were taking them? Or can I trust love because the person who's supposed to love me is hurting me in many different unfathomable ways? So I don't know if that aspect of my soul understood that we were one. But again, the curiosity, how I experienced him, was curious eventually. So at first it was total rejection. Then it was curiosity. And the understanding happened when we integrate.
So what was that integration like? Was it like, was it a willing, like how did it feel for you?
It felt like a huge heart opening. I mean, I've picked up soul fragments many times in my journey, in many different countries, usually. But what's funny is this one was the one I had to work for. When I was in Sase Woman in Peru, I was walking in a cave and I saw, again, a masculine, interestingly enough, in that life. And he was terrified. And I was like, oh, come on in. And it was instant. And it was love. And he was safe. And everything was fine. Right. And that's happened in Glastonbury. It's happened in different places in Scotland. It's happened in Israel. It's happened in Mexico. It wasn't this as challenging process.
Right.
It seemed to be a very, very deep wound of lack of trust of what love is and source. Right. If there is a God, why would God allow blah, blah, blah? Right. I think all of us have had moments of that in our life where we just, when my brother passed away 3 years ago, I wanted to blame my family, even with all the wisdom I have. Like
Yeah.
I was ready to like denounce, like change my last name to actually be Star, because Aurora Luna is a legal name change, but I kept my family name because they did adopt me and save my life and all the things. But when my brother passed, I got lost for a minute.
Wow.
It was, because in my mind he could have been rescued, even though ultimately his soul already chose.
It's
Right.
hard. Yeah.
So yeah. So no matter where we are on the journey, it's ultimately just continuing to look at these deep shadow places, not because we need to be fixed,
That's right.
because right, we're not here, like no one can fix us, because in our soul we're already whole. So what we're coming back to remembering is the truth of this journey. And it's easy to get stuck in the corners of the matrix, because the matrix wants us to believe that um, when someone crosses over, we're never going to be with them again.
Right.
That could be further from the truth. We're never separate from anyone, not even those that we loathe the most or those that we love the most. Doesn't matter who they are. We're always connected in the vortex of creation. So, but I'd say that he was the only one to this moment. I don't know what happens next, right? Even Aum Ra, like the collective that I channel, the ninth dimensional frequency I channel.
So it is a collective. I didn't want to even risk saying the name because I wasn't sure. But
That's okay. Yeah, they're a collective and they're an aspect of me, right? But I'm not the only aspect. When I channeled at the channel panel, this young woman came up to me after and she showed me a picture of a person sitting and then all of this energy coming from Gaia up through in swirls. It was so cool looking. And I'm like, that's exactly how Aum Ra comes through me. She said, I felt it. I said, right, because Aum Ra comes through you too.
Yeah.
We're all one,
Yeah.
right? Simply that I'm channeling them is my experience with them, but that doesn't mean that it's just, I am.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I love that you said that too. It's absolutely, you were the open vessel at the moment, right? To let it in and let it express itself through you.
Yes. Totally.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
maybe other people will start channeling them too. I don't know. But I'm not attached. I'm also not attached that that's the only energy that I'm going to, ever channel. I do know that in order to channel them, I did need to shift in resonance, right? In order they've always been there, but I wasn't always available energetically for them to use my vessel or to connect with my heart. And so all of this is just, steps in the evolutionary process.
Right. And how long have you been channeling this?
Almost 2 years.
For 2
That's
years.
Yep.
Wow.
And when they came through, I was like, why do I sound like Judi Dench? Like, what's going on? Like, why do I feel like a gnarled tree? Like, I didn't understand that they were ninth dimensional, not from our universe, using Gaia as a satellite to connect through me and with me. So they are using a root system essentially to bring that energy up to me. It's all of it is like mind blowing for me still.
But it's so validating of the work that you've done vibrationally for that to even make its way to you. Like it's truly incredible. So where are they actually from? Are they from a different star system? Are they in a different galaxy altogether? Are they?
There isn't a name that we have an awareness of for any of it, right? Like we are one galaxy amongst millions of galaxies in just our universe,
right?
And they're not from here, but they know Gaia intimately. They know our star system. They are very interested in the Akashic records of everything, and they're interested in being in service. So,
and why do you think they're so interested in the Akashic records specifically for the souls who have an incarnation here on planet Earth?
Not just here. They collect information everywhere.
Okay.
So they go off into different galaxies, into different parts of our universe, different parts of the multiverse, collecting information of evolution in general.
I see.
And I feel like it's kind of like a professor going off in an archaeological dig to get information that will help another generation with whatever they're navigating. So their desire is ultimately service.
Mm-hmm.
And they desire very much to assist humanity in our evolutionary process.
Well, would you say, Aurora, that there's any, it's going to sound like such a ridiculous question, but do you feel like there's any one particular stream for them that's most important when it comes to assisting humanity as we find ourselves at this tipping point? Because as we know, what looks like from the outside, in many ways, the world is kind of on fire. And, there are a lot of people who obviously are not necessarily at the point where you are, where I might be, where someone else might be in their understanding. And, that could be a little bit of a scary point for some, right? And overcoming that fear. How do you feel it is like that the calibration point that they bring forward collectively, does it have the ability to penetrate different fields of awareness, right? Because we
Without
can,
question.
right?
Yeah, that's with you.
Because we understand at different points of understanding, and yet we know that somewhere in the field, right, is the connector piece, if that makes sense. So what's most important to them, do you feel like? Because from my perspective, I feel like we have all these galactic star systems and races of being here to assist collectively, right, with our evolution for many different reasons. And I feel like they all come bringing, in many ways, a specific vibrational field to help, right, the planet and its species. So how does that penetrate when someone might have a really deep seat of fear somewhere, right? Like, because I believe everybody uploads the information, especially now, just with the acceleration of time and the energies. Like, how did I'm curious as to how that it's activating somewhere in the field. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Well, you have to remember that everyone is going to connect with different medicine.
Yeah.
So, for instance, sometimes when I'm channeling light language, people start crying because they start having a memory of something that they can't put their words to, but they understand that they can feel something, right? Because it's frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, even when I work one-on-one with clients in my mentorship, they're starting to remember who they are. It's very emotional for them because no one has ever shown them the truth of who they are. And I'm only mirroring it, right? So it's this is a time where fear is very prevalent on our planet, which is why it's also important to use discernment who you go to for assistance, because anyone who's sharing more fear is probably not helping you inadvertently, right? Everyone's here to do what everyone's here to do, and it's not to put anybody down at all. But at the same time, if you're already afraid, then going down the rabbit hole of conspiracy and all, like, I know all these things are happening, dark, whatever, but I don't want to say I don't care, but I kind of don't, because it's just not my focus, right? So my focus is love. My focus is healing. My focus is consciousness, and where my consciousness is, right? Because the quantum field is constantly listening to my thoughts, my words, and my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm constantly in fear, I'm creating more fear. If I'm taking sides between this one and that one, I'm creating more duality.
Yeah.
So my desire is to just stay in neutrality, to honor that where I want to experience life is not from this frequency. I want to keep experiencing life from love and from choice of choosing peace. And sometimes it's so funny. You know, the truth of the matter is when we ask for more peace or when we ask for more patience, spirit, source, our soul, whomever, whatever, will give us more reasons to show up in that frequency. They won't actually give the divine dispensation of having more patience or
Yes.
compassion or forgiveness, right? They'll just give us more reasons to show up,
Yes.
like again and again and again. And the soul is actually making those choices so that it can learn. Right? The soul is not about anything other than what am I here to learn in this life? This is a very intense classroom where the soul can pick up all of this information that it's not going to pick up while it's sitting in love and light perfection.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's the biggest telenovelas in the galaxy, or in maybe the universe. I don't know. Oh, got a yes on that. That's interesting. The universe is quite vast. I'm like, really? Yeah. Anyway, but nonetheless, you know, this is, you know, you think of Gaia and how magnanimous she must be as a soul, how generous she is to allow humanity to go through this process, even while we're not acknowledging her presence and how incredible it is to be connected to her in all of her kingdoms. Right? Gaia is here to support us in this journey when we choose her. I don't know one person who doesn't feel better when they go outside and walk in nature.
Absolutely.
Right? Because nature is where oneness exists.
Exactly.
And we can feel it.
Yes.
Right? One flower isn't looking at another flower and saying, oh my God, change the color of those petals, girl. There's no, it's already a harmonic resonance of source love, and the trees and the flowers and the bushes and the bugs and all of that energy already understands and is aware of its purpose and presence. And it's all source.
Yeah. And it all belongs. It all belongs here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. So we are at a tipping point on the one hand, but I don't walk through even thinking of it in that way, really, per se. My job every day is to watch my thoughts.
Yeah.
They get negative, they get fearful, they get all the things that everybody else experiences. I am not immune or impervious to what's happening in the world. I'm not immune or impervious to my own things that need healing and are looking to come into integration. And so I know that what gives me permission to be where I am on this journey, for lack of a better way to put it, is my intense amount of gratitude, my, you know, commitment to my growth,
Yeah.
and love. And when I fall short of those things, yeah, I get a little angry with myself, but I don't keep myself there for very long. I remember that I'm doing the best that I can with the path that I chose in this life. And I came in pretty intensely rough, but I got to experience a lot of that when I wasn't going to remember all of it, so that I didn't get stuck in the corners of the reality that I decided I would experience. I took all of that in to stop it for my lineage. I took all that in to stop it for my karma. And I took all that in to, you know, remember the truth of who I am. And make sure that as many people who want to can remember it is.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. You answered so many of my questions that I'm like, what now? Okay. You know, I love that you brought up the fact earlier where you mentioned discernment, because, you know, as you know, when you're first kind of starting the journey of discovering yourself in this different way, you're so vulnerable and you're so open, especially when you just know, like, I want to get to the root of all of this. Discernment is key, right? And not to sound judgy or anything, but there are so many different perspectives and ways of doing things. So, what would be your advice to someone listening who's like at that point where they're like, how do I know that I can trust where I'm being guided to? And then, how do you even know? And maybe something might be a little off, right? Because, you know, as we all know, there's all different aspects of light and shadow, even when we're doing the work.
Without question. I remember going to this woman's house in Hicksville, Long Island, who held things on a regular basis. And everyone was so excited for this particular teacher. And I was just sitting there like, what am I doing here? And there's claims of like 10,000 times the light quotient, and I don't know, whatever the things were, the things of the things, and they were getting raised in the ranks of whatever they were doing. And I'm just sitting there like, no, 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 no. But yet, while I'm saying no, there were people in the class that were genuinely getting something out of it.
Yeah.
And we're feeling whatever was whatever of whatever. So I started learning and remembering to trust what I feel. Not because whether this person was a something or not a something, it didn't really matter. The discernment for me was, this is not my medicine. This is not my truth. And this is not what I see actually happening here. And I don't have to be right for everyone in that class. It just needed to be my truth to ascertain and determine that I would not proceed on a journey of classes with this particular person. Right. Versus other people in my field who were amazing mentors, who lifted me into higher states of understanding. And without them in my foundation, like I speak specifically of Sandy Giranota and Terry, like without these two women, I don't know where I'd be on my path. Mm-hmm. And, you know, sometimes Terry was, I don't want to say hard on me. That's not the right way to put it. But she was really calling out truth, and I still couldn't hear it. So sometimes you're being told the truth by the people who are trying to help you and love you. I know that she was my mother before in past lives. Yeah, I mean, they're amazing people and with beautiful gifts, Terry Leone. And, you know, I love them in all time space because I know that I can't be where I am now without the help of where they showed me foundational information. And even the discernment was later, right? Like when your parents are telling you something and you're like, no, 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 I know that, right?
Yeah. The age of rebellion.
Girl, and I'm an Aquarius with an Aquarius rising. I'm rebellion walking in skin. So I'm sitting there now like, wow, she said so many wise things. And why didn't I listen? Because I needed to learn certain things the hard way. And that's okay. That's part of my journey, right? You know, no matter who's teaching you, I invite you to just feel in your body what love is versus what fear is. Do you feel afraid when you're sitting in front of this person with what they're sharing with you? Or are you feeling afraid of growth? Like, it's almost like determining the difference between what kind of fear you're experiencing. Are you afraid of expansion? You might be, because oftentimes our lives shift drastically when we go through this. I mean, like when I was working with Sandy, I was bartending, I was drinking, I was smoking pot, and she asked me to walk away from all of that. That was hard.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't do those things on your journey. It's that I was using them to dull all of my senses. It's like I don't believe in absolutes for pretty much anything or anyone. Mm-hmm. I believe you can drink wine and still ascend. I believe
yes. Yes.
Right? Like I used to actually have a very hard line with those things, but that was because that was my experience of abuse, right? With those substances. Now I know I can drink on occasion, and I don't always love, like I just actually had a drink at my friend's birthday because I didn't have anything for Christmas or New Year's Eve. And I was like, you know, I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight. I actually started feeling bad in that moment. So I was like, wow, okay, so much for a $12 glass of wine. And what's funny is it's not always the case. Sometimes when I drink something, it has like zero effect. So I don't know what it was about that in that moment. I just, again, shrug my shoulders, but I honor where I am when I'm experiencing it. Meaning, I wasn't going to finish drinking that glass of wine.
Right.
Because I could feel that it somehow was not in resonance with my being. And so I let it go.
Yeah.
But, you know, I needed to give those things up at that time because those things were preventing me from feeling all the things I didn't want to.
I can resonate.
Right? And that's an important distinction.
Yeah, I can resonate very deeply with that. Yeah, I agree 100%. And I love that you're in this space now where you realize that there is no definition for you. Let's just be clear. Any need to define yourself as alcoholic and all those things, because that's not the case. It's an awareness that you had, and you realized why you were doing those things and how it was preventing you from really feeling into that next tier that would become you, right? That's Aurora Luna Star today. And you made a choice. And the fact that you choose to have a drink once in a while is liberating, because that's no longer part of your paradigm, right?
Exactly.
You've completely shifted that. And I love
But
that.
I also honor that there are people that do need 12 steps. And I honor, like, everybody does need to go in their journey the way they need to do it. My only offer to those who are using 12 steps for a super extended period of time, and it still may be functional for some, but I also feel like the more we repeat a story, the more we're staying in the loop of that story. And I do believe that while addiction is real, without question, that we can, when we start to raise our vibration, we start to recognize that we shift out of that addiction too. I just open to you the potential, not you, not you.
I know. I love that.
Reality that that when we're in a pattern, sometimes we stay in that pattern because we keep telling the same story over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
Any story, right? It's the same even with my near death. If you realize that when I speak of that stuff, there's no charge or trigger behind it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not holding on to, I share that so that you know that part of my journey was navigating some really ridiculous abuse. And the leftover of that for me is the piece of rage, which I still lovingly bless and navigate every day. I'm not the Hulk, but I am, that there's a part of me that where that rage still lives, and I work with her. And her name is Lisa, because that's the name I came into this planet with, that, you know, that my biological mother gave me and my parents kept. I did the name change for myself, understanding that I was ready to integrate more of that frequency. And I didn't, even once like it's 10 years ago I changed my name. I'd say the first 3 to 5 years I was really still integrating what it meant to walk as Aurora versus Lisa. And then remembering that Lisa never leaves me, right? She's always there.
Yeah.
Right. She is part of what carries that shadow piece for me, with me. Right. So I already have, even though I've got that Atlantean piece, I've got my own, like, very close piece in this body, in this life, needing to integrate some very painful things. But even though I'm still in process with all of that, again, my awareness is that I'm not hanging on to the stories as the triggers come up. I'm trying to correlate where it's coming from so I can keep getting back to that root place and offering a new belief system when the loop shows up.
Mm-hmm. You know, I like to say that neutrality is the keystone of the embodied starseed, because, and that can be very disarming for people too when they encounter that, because we live in a society where we're so reactionary to one another, we're so reactionary to everything, that when you hit that tone of neutrality, because you're okay with things and everything, that can be really off-putting to people. You know, I'm not sure how you experience that.
I believe that neutrality is our way home, because if we can't get neutral on right and left and black and white and this and that, whatever all those things are, then again, so the more we take a side, ultimately, the more we're participating in duality.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, we want to see the light rise. And sometimes we need to use our voice to speak out for others. It's why we've been given a voice, right? And we have an opportunity to be in service through prayer and through intention and all of these things. So it's just making sure that as we're standing in neutrality, that first we've processed what it means. Because for some, neutrality, like if the ladder rung is here, neutrality looks like 20 feet above you and you don't know how to get there. Right. When I was at the channel panel, I actually shared this on a radio show last week. When I was at the channel panel, the channels were speaking kind of over the heads of some of the people that were there that were looking for answers. So this woman was speaking about a partner or a friend, or I think maybe a family member, who had PTSD and just like was angry all the time and struggling with anger. And one of the answers was, just don't show up for the fight. And everyone roared with like, yeah. And it's like, okay, but how do you tell someone with PTSD to not show up for the fight? That's wiring. That's synapses. That's deeply ingrained in their being, because what they experience, like you can't just ask someone to flip a switch because it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, they don't have
the journey they chose without question, right? They chose the journey.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to turn the fight off, otherwise they wouldn't be there asking the question. So funny enough, I was so excited to be Aum Ra for this event and to channel that energy and to share it. And I got a whole download on what it was going to be. And then Aum Ra switched the script. And I was like, like my inner child. But you're going to share all this awesome stuff. And they asked me, do you hear how many people didn't get their questions answered? Because the answers were coming from a very true place, but a very neutral place. But those people weren't being met at the energy where they are. Can you meet them? Yeah, of course. Right, I'm here to be in service.
Yeah, big difference. Yeah, big difference.
So neutrality, you're absolutely correct. Without question, we're all being called into neutrality, especially so that we can allow for a new reality to be born.
Yeah.
When we're not choosing sides, now we have the opportunity to step back and say, what else is there? Right? When we're not participating in it. But in order to get to that place, first we need to acknowledge what we're believing the truth of what's happening is. The first rule of the quantum field is everything is source. And if you don't truly believe that yet, then neutrality is an impossibility for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or instead of impossibility, let's say it's elusive. You might get to neutrality sometimes, but it's hard to make it the staple in your reality. And that's okay, because not for nothing again. There are times when I can show up in neutrality, and other times I'm believing the lie of separation.
Yeah, right. And that leads me to unity consciousness, right? And oneness. And, as we sit and tune into oneness, I'm curious how you explain and feel it, because, for me, the way I look at it with unity consciousness, it's not picking one side or the other. It's knowing that within this container of oneness, everything is meant to be present without judgment, without wrestling with one side or the other, right? And I guess maybe some people call that 0 point, like where everything just exists as is, right? And that's hard to explain to people, when they're so used to picking the left side, the right side, the Democrats, the Republicans, and all of that. So when we talk about unity consciousness, how can we best explain to people that what unity consciousness is. Like,
well, you start off with what you know.
Yeah.
Your love for your child, your love for your dog or your cat, your feeling in church or temple when you're singing songs or praying, your feeling in nature when you're amongst the trees, when you're looking at the stars, when you're feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, when you're feeling the embrace of family and chosen family and partnerships, friendships, right? These are the times when we do remember unity, but we usually remember it because we're in likeness, right? So likeness is how we first experience unity. The things that make us feel safe because everything around us looks just like us or feels like home. What eventually we need to remember, and we are in the process, is that home is inside each one of us. It's not external, it's actually internal. For me, I am very, very fortunate that essentially, of all the clairs, clairsentience is my biggest gift. So I viscerally feel energy, but interestingly enough, that means I also viscerally feel low vibration as well. I feel psychic attacks all the time. I'm working on getting beyond that piece where I'm feeling separate so that the attack is possible. So I'm understanding that this is the next, or remembering this is the next iteration of my mastery, so that anyone can throw any kind of energy at me and I will be impervious, not because I'm better than by any stretch, but exactly the opposite, because I am one with everyone, right? So it's interesting how Spirit's been having me navigate that, because I'm navigating it actually presently in a situation with someone I live in close proximity to that is really angry, and so sending me a lot of interesting vibrational frequency. And I recently got Sempris Unum,
Say
right,
that
which
again, Aurora.
Sempris Unum, which essentially means the same as unity conscious. We are like Sempris Unum, like everything is one. And I even looked it up because I'm like, I know some Semper Fi, like what is Sempris Unum? But Unum, I knew had to be the number one.
Wow.
Right. So, and then I was asked to put my hand on my head and say those words out loud. And I stopped feeling the attack. And then I started singing it. And then I felt my whole field expand. And I wasn't even singing anything in particular. Right. So it's just very interesting that we're having this particular conversation, because it literally has just happened in the past few days. And that for me is vibrational, right? So for you, it might be different. It's not a fix all for everyone. It was just an awareness that our language is really low on the totem pole, actually technically high on the totem pole, because the low man on the totem pole is the most important. We've been given inverted information on a lot of First Nation things, but nonetheless, the language that we use is very far removed from the vibrational meaning behind the words. Right? In Hebrew, the word for love is ahava. And if you think of how expansive that is, right? Even Aum is the universe made manifest. These Sanskrit, Hebrew, Aramaic, some Arabic, like these are the original languages on our planet mostly, right? They've shifted, even those languages have shifted over time, but their energy behind them is very close to the definition of the words. They also use much fewer words, because words can start to convolute and dilute meaning and be confusing.
And keep us in separation.
When simple actually has so much. So going even back to discernment, the people who give the simplest messages are usually speaking the most truth.
Love that.
The people who have to give you blah, 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 you know, it's like your head might be spinning. There might be a reason for that. right? Let it come to the heart rather than the head, so that, right, you're understanding more. I'm sorry, my computer says low battery, even though everything's plugged up. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hopefully that worked. It looks like it's working in this moment. Excellent.
Yeah, you're still with us. That was perfectly said, Aurora, and stated and transmitted through your beautiful heart and signal that you offer. Really, I swear I could keep you on here all day. Like even just listening to you talk, I can feel into like all these little weavings of like, oh, and there's another huge point over here, and oh, there's another huge point over there. It's like it's very interesting to tune into the energy and feel so much information beyond what you're just saying, like just feeling it out there in the ether, if you will. Really, really powerful. I wanted to bring any viewers' attention to the services that you offer online. I know you offer Akashic record readings, right? Specifically galactic. Biomagnetic alignment, right? There's something on your site too that said heart intelligence, which I loved. You offer soul evolutionary alchemy, right? So anyone watching and tuning in, just remember that we'll include all the details in the description of this video, so you can reach out to Aurora. You definitely want to take advantage and connect with her. I know you also have a Star Nation monthly membership, right? Which might be something really beautiful for people tuning in today to sign up for. So I definitely encourage that. You have classes, it looks like, activations on your site. Plus, I know you have an upcoming retreat, I believe, right, in Shasta in September?
Yes. Yeah, I usually do a retreat here once a year. Even when I was living in Sedona, I was still coming back. The mountain's a very potent facilitator and amplifier of whatever intentions we set. And I always love using the autumnal equinox, especially because in autumn, we're reaping a harvest, right, of all the seeds that we've planted. And then we're also preparing for the quiet time in winter, like as the days start to then get shorter, right, we're headed towards darkness once we hit the equinox, and we are in a time of gestation where now we get to kind of go inward. And this is specifically about using your voice, sacred sound, sacred voice, right? Sharing your expression and knowing the best way for your expression to be shared ultimately through the heart, right? And opening up to light language, opening up to creative expression in general, knowing that it's a safe space to use your voice. Because I feel like a really big wound that I navigate in my mentorship with a lot of my clients is around being afraid to be seen and speak because of how many lifetimes that has gotten us killed, right?
Yep.
Again, even if we look at Iran right now, it's happening over and over again. We see it constantly, that by speaking the truth, there's a consequence. But there's also a consequence by not speaking the truth. Right? So to me, sacred sound, sacred voice, like this is a retreat I'm probably going to want to have different iterations of, because it feels like such an important piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I even made some notes for myself too, because the moment I saw that you were offering that retreat, I immediately just kind of felt the feminine rising, right? And our expression and using the sacred voice. And I feel like it's so paramount at this time, because whether we've actually had an experience, I believe, in a past lifetime where we were persecuted for speaking our truth or not, collectively, we're all still transmuting that frequency, right? And that remembrance. And I think that's why it feels so scary, for so many people to actually allow yourself to go there and to feel safe. So I love that you're offering that for not just women, but just people who feel like they need to just have that moment of liberation to be in that space.
100%. And I'll offer everyone this, let's say for whatever reason I get taken out, whatever that means, by whomever for whatever. Guess what? If my job isn't done here, I'll just cycle back in because this is all a video game. So I just invite you to remember that this is, we're all dying every day. And at the same time, we could choose that focus, or we could choose the living focus, right? And what we get to do in this lifetime. I honor those who have fallen on the sword, for lack of a better way to put it, because they know the same. They know that they are eternal. They know if they're not done here and they're meant to come back, that they will. And we all have that opportunity all the time. Yes, being in density, it's hard not to be attached to people, to things, to, situations, all of it. And at the same time, we never lose anything, right? We don't die, we transition. We are energy that can neither be created nor destroyed. And it's important to anchor that truth back into consciousness again. Not that grief isn't real or shouldn't be felt. That's not my truth. Feeling our deep feelings is very, very important. Making them our address, that's the dangerous piece. And I've gotten really good, speaking of words and language and how important it is. When I say I am, I'm very careful what I say after I am. I will never, it would be unusual for you to hear me say that I am exhausted, or I am tired, or I am this, or I am that in energy, because it's what I feel. I feel angry. I feel tired. I feel sad. I am not those things. I am source. I am love and light. I am eternal. The rest of what I'm experiencing is how I feel. And if I choose to say that I feel it, it wants to move really fast.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Aurora, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your light, your wisdom, your presence, just everything about you. Thank you. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for watching. Again, I'll be sure to include all the details around Aurora, how you can reach her on her website, social media, YouTube, all the places. And from my heart to yours, biggest love, Aurora, eternal and infinite gratitude. Thank you.